Hello, welcome once again. This is E-GeO, Everything is Geography, my YouTube channel. Please like, share and subscribe. So right now we are going to talk about the demographic transition model, which is a part of population structure. Sometimes in IGCSE, some questions can be asked. 3 to 5 mark questions can be asked on demographic transition model. So the questions where you need to identify or you need to describe and explain, mostly explain, where you need to give reasons, kind of questions can be asked on demographic transition model. And demographic transition model is very easy to understand, right? So what is demographic transition model? Now, if you see demographic transition. Okay, so demographic is the population. When someone is studying the population of a country, those who study population are called demographers, and the subject become demography. So demography is the study of population transition over a period of time, how population structure has been changed, like we did in population pyramid. That population pyramid also shows us that how population structure has been changed. But in population pyramid, we need to look at different population pyramid of a country which represent different time period. Here, with this one model, you can understand, we can understand what is the change, what is the transition, what kind of transition took place in terms of population change in a country over a period of time. So demographic transition model is actually talks about a very long duration of a country where population has been changed. So what kind of change has been brought and what could be the possible reasons for the change in population, that we can study through demographic transition model. This is also called DTM. Okay, so demographic transition model talks about the transition or change in population structure over a period of time. Demographic transition model basically divided into 4 stages. Stage 1, stage 2, stage 3 and stage 4. But due to the recent developments, one more stages has also been added. So now demographic transition model has 5 stages. Stage 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So there are 5 stages. First stage to last stage, you will see that population has been changed. Okay, now here you can see there are 3 lines. The black line is about death rate. This is black line shows us the transition in death rate. Blue line shows us the transition in birth rate. So blue line represents birth rate, black line represents death rate, and this red line represents total population. Okay, if birth rate and death rate are changing, definitely it will have impact on the total population in a country or over an area. Okay, so let us start. What is stage number 1? So stage number 1 is prehistoric time, pre-agricultural time or very ancient time, when the population in the world was very low, right? The world's population was very low, and that was the beginning. Like you can say that the countries were not formed even, right? The way we see it today, those many countries were not there. During that time period, this was the evolution time where population was settling down, means they were transforming. During that time period, what was there? So prehistoric time, if you see, total population was very low. We all know that world's population was very low, and the reason behind that was the high birth rate and high death rate. Birth rates were high during this time because during this time period, farming was the main economic activity. Agriculture, out of all the sectors in economy, like primary, secondary, tertiary, quaternary, quinary. So out of 5 sectors, we can divide them into 3: primary, secondary and tertiary. So primary sector was dominating. Agriculture was dominating during the first stage. So definitely if agriculture was dominating without machines, means more people were required, right? So there was need of people as labor in agriculture because farming was the dominating activity. That's why people wanted to have more number of children. So this was the first time where agriculture make people to have more number of children, force people to have more number of children. This was also the time when the death rate, like I mean infant mortality rate was very high. Why? Because medical facilities were not developed, water supply, sanitation, medical supplies, food, everything was at the lowest level, and that's why the birth rate remains high and death rate also remains high. So high infant mortality rate, people need to have more number of children. Poor food supply, poor water supply, people need to have more number of children. And because medical facilities, food supply, water supply, sanitation, diseases, famine, starvations, malnutrition was predominating in this time period, that's why death rate also remains high. So when death rate and birth rate remains very high, the total population will remain stable. Okay, stable. During this time period, during modern time, if birth rate and death rate again becomes stable, then what will be the impact? Total population, which is very high, will become stable. Okay, total population is high, but then it will become stable because birth rate and death rate are high. Same way in the first stage, birth rate and death rate were very high, but total population was already low, so they remained low. So you can see here that birth rate, there is minor change in birth rate and death rate, but total population also remains stable. Okay, so what we can learn from here, that total population remain stable or slow increase. Either you can write this, or you can say that there was very slow increase in total population in the first stage because birth rate and death rate were very high, right? Can we find any country in 2023 which can be put in stage 1? I don't think so. Almost all continent, US, North America, South America, Europe, Asia, Africa, Australia, Antarctica, anywhere, you will not find any country which is in first stage, because every country in the world has passed from stage 1 and they have entered in other stages. So no country, but we may find some tribes which are living in remote areas like in Africa or some remote areas on islands. They might be in, we don't know, we are not sure, but they might be in the first stage of demographic transition model. Unknown tribes, right? There are a lot of mysteries in the world, and we can't make ourselves very much sure that what is exactly there in the on the earth, right? So there might be some tribal groups which are living in the first stage. Otherwise, if you look at the countries, there are no country in the world which is in stage number 1. Okay, every country has passed from stage 1 to stage 2. Now in stage 2, what is there? Stage 2 is the developmental time. It was the time when the population showed some changes. Okay, now before that, this stage, the first stage, is called high stationary stage. High stationary. Okay, why high stationary? Because you can see birth rate, death rate remains high, total population remains stable. That's why it was a high stationary stage. Second stage, when a country enters into second stage, what happens? This is the time where the development process begins in a country. Means there you will find changes in the dominance of economic activities. Primary, secondary, tertiary sector, there you will find some changes, and that results into the change in the second stage. So second stage, what is there? Birth rate still remain high. See, birth rate is still high. It has started coming down, means there is slow decrease, very slow decrease in birth rate, right? Very slow decrease in birth rate, but death rate has shown rapid fall. This is the rapid fall in death rate. You can see there that death rate has started going down. So rapid fall in death rate. Why? Now simply, if we can see birth rate and death rate, every person on the earth will like to live, right? Nobody would like to die, and nobody wants other to die, right? This is the mentality, this is the fact, and that's why people, birth and death, if they have to choose, they will choose birth. So they will keep, birth rate, birth rate is okay, death rate should not be high. That's why in the world death rate has started falling. Now exact reason for the fall in death rate was during this time period medical facilities has started improving, nurses, doctors, infrastructure, everything has started developing. Water supply becomes more prominent, food supply becomes more prominent, transportation network has started developing, the interrelation and the relationship between countries, intra relationship between countries has also become more and more dominating, and also sanitation and everything, hygiene, everything has started improving. Knowledge about different diseases, vaccinations got out, and emergency services were provided. So this is how the change was registered in the world, and all these indicates that death rate will fall, right? If food supply, water supply, sanitation, hygiene, better interrelationships at international level between countries, transportation, nurses, doctors, infrastructure, if everything develops, definitely it will control death rate. So death rate was, came under control. So death rate has started falling down rapidly, but birth rate remains high. So the gap between the both of these, birth rate and death rate, were moving together. This way they were moving together. Okay, they were moving together. This way they were moving together. But then what happened? That birth rate remains high, but because people and government has focused more on death rate, so death rate has started declining. Now you see the gap between birth and death rate has increased, right? If death rate has started declining, so number of people were taking, birth rate remain high, death rate becomes low. So the gap which you see between birth and death, this gap is natural increase in population. It means that total population has started growing rapidly, because as you see, the higher the distance, higher the gap between birth rate and death rate, higher the gap, more people. So total population has increased, and that you can see over here that birth rate high, death rate has started falling. So the gap which you see over here, this gap which you see over here, this is actually called the natural increase. Natural increase is what is natural increase? Natural increase is, what is natural increase in population? So natural increase, when we say natural increase, it is simply the difference between birth rate and death rate. Birth rate minus death rate is natural increase. So this is natural increase, the gap between birth rate and death rate. And because there was gap, and that's why total population has started rapidly increasing, right? So this was second stage. In third stage, what happened? In third stage, death rate, because there were more advancement in medical facilities, better water supply technology, better understandings, causes were identified, better research facilities, better working together environment, and all that has added more to the death to be in control. So death rate kept on decreasing, but in third stage you can see the death rate decrease becomes slow. This is slow decrease, this is rapid decrease, rapidly falling. Here you can see it is falling but slow decrease, right? So this is the change. If you see over here, this arrow is rapidly falling, here this is also falling but it is slow. So there was slow decrease in the population. I will give you some data also about this the information which we have right now. So I'll give you some data as well. Fine. So this is what happened in the third stage. Okay. Third stage, birth rate, death rate kept on decreasing. So it was like remain, declining, but the decrease was very slow. But now this is the time period, third stage, where birth rate has also started falling. Why? Because of certain development in stage 3. So why? What are the reasons behind the change in birth rate in the third stage? So in third stage, what happened? That medical facilities has improved. Because of improvement in medical facilities, infant mortality rate also came under control. Because of controlling infant mortality rate, the death rate, the birth rate started falling. Because earlier it was also a reason that because survival rate was very low, that's why birth rate kept on, kept high. But now because of improved medical facilities, it was almost sure that the number of children will mostly survive, those who are taking birth. That's why infant mortality rate has gone down. And also diet and everything has been changed. During this time period in stage 3, it was also noticed that birth rate kept on decreasing because the governments, institutions, researchers, policy makers, all people have started making policies, imparting education where contraceptives awareness, availability, affordability, accessibility was made easy and wider. So this improvement has got result. People become more aware about having small families, having less number of babies, and also the marriage age. Because in earlier time, if you see, the people used to get married at 15 years, 20 years, below 20 years they used to get married. Now as the time changes, the marriage also become later and later, and that's why the birth rate has started decreasing. But still there was gap between birth rate and death rate. So birth rate and death rate, the gap has started declining, but still it was high. So population kept on increasing, it reaches a peak. So when it is reaching the peak, you can see the gap has reduced. The gap was maximum over here and the gap has started decreasing. So population also, the total population which were growing like this also started declining. Okay, it's not declining, but the total population growth which was rapid becomes slow. Okay. In fourth stage, what happened? In fourth stage of demographic transition model, death rate becomes very low, birth rate rapidly falling, because this is the modern time. Okay, so in modern time, almost everywhere around the world, internet is playing an important role, and people are experiencing whatever the experiences are there around the world. Education level has become very high, and because of better education facilities, better literacy rate, people are understanding. Even in those countries where which are LEDCs, those countries are also understanding the importance of controlling the population, because we all know that Earth has limited resources, limited things are available. If population will keep on growing, then definitely all of us and future generations will face a lot of difficulty. So that understanding is coming, and that understanding has helped countries to control their population. Also, there are population policies. as far as my knowledge is concerned, almost every country around the world has some population policies, and some countries has enforced population policies in such a way that they have controlled their population by hook or by crook. So this is how population policies work. Now that depends on the implementation. So some of the countries in the world have implemented their population so in a better way that they were able to achieve their target. Like China's one child policy when introduced in 1960-70 era, they came out with this, and they, by hook or crook, the population policy was introduced, and they got the result also that their population, few days back there was a report that China has registered negative population growth. Negative population growth means they will have problems now, but they have registered negative population growth. So that is the result of one child policy. So population policies has also played an important role in fourth stage. So population now, because both become, the gap between birth rate and death rate has again started declining, and at the end of almost fourth stage it is almost stable. That's why you will find the total population in fourth stage become stable, and then slow decrease you can see in total population. So as the gap between birth rate and death rate decreases, the total population increase, becomes stable, and then slowly it starts declining, that you can see over here in fourth stage. But if any country enters into fifth stage, any country in the world enters into fifth stage, then they will have problems. What kind of problem they will face? They will have the problem of aging population. Like China, Japan, Germany, Russia, all these countries have started facing the problem regarding aging because their growth rate is negative, right? So here we can see that this one is natural increase. This is natural increase in population. Okay, so natural increase means where birth rate remains little high than death rate. So birth rate is positive, death rate is negative. Means if there is a positive relationship between birth rate and death rate, that is called natural increase. But if you find anything like this, where death rate remains high, death rate becomes high, and birth rate becomes low, then this is called natural decrease. So this is the difference between natural increase and natural decrease, because death rate is higher than birth rate. So fifth stage is extremely modern time, where the result of fourth stage people get in fifth stage, that because their population becomes so advanced that their thinking has been changed. Social structure, economic status, women's are working more, women's become more independent. There is independent kind of thought process existing in male and female around the world. Education is very is advanced. Almost literacy rate is touching 90 plus around the world. It's something like that education has played awareness. People, and there are many people who are not interested in marriages, or if they are getting married, their marrying age is 35 plus, so they don't want children, or they have one child. Population, they are becoming more and more independent, and that results into death rate higher than birth rate. So slow, slight difference between birth rate and death rate, but birth rate kept on decreasing, death rate becomes little high. Now why death rate is high over here? There is no infant mortality rate, but death rate is high over here because the old population, after a particular age, definitely people will die. Some will die at 90, some will die at 100, some might be living till 120 or 110 or 100 years or 70 years, 60 years, but they'll die. So if you have more number of people in 60 plus age group, higher number of people in 60 plus age group, definitely they will die. So that death rate is affecting the country. Old populations, death rate is affecting the country. That's why here you can see death rate is little higher than birth rate, and these countries are facing natural decrease. It means that they have negative growth rate, and that is an alarming situation for them, because if the country has very low birth rate, it means that they will face consequences in terms of having working population. they'll not have working population. Their growth will get negative result. Their economic growth will be hampered because they don't have working population. Skilled, unskilled population is required, but adult need to be there. Birth rate is already very low, very low. How they will get adult population? I mean working population. So that is affecting them. And then army is also going to be affected, because there also you need adult population. You need adult population in primary sector, secondary sector, tertiary sector. Everywhere adult population is required, because children are not working. They are just preparing, they are just getting ready. Old population is retired. Now everything is on adult population, but birth rate is low, so adult population will be low, and the country will have economic consequences, will have biological consequences, everything will be there in the fifth stage. So those countries which have been entered in fifth stage, they are reviving their population policies. Okay, now so this is demographic transition model. There are 5 stages. The fifth stage is the recent addition. The first stage is called high stationary. Second stage is called early expanding. Second stage is early expanding stage. Okay, because you can see the expansion between birth rate and death rate, and total population has started increasing. So that is early expanding. Third stage is late expanding. This is late expanding, because you can see the expansion is there, you can see, but that the expansion is decreasing. The early is over here, the gap increase and then decrease. So early expanding, late expanding is third stage. The fourth stage is called low stationary. This is low stationary stage. High stationary over here, you can see high stationary. Here this reaches over here, and total population over here. So it is like opposite. So this is high, this is low stationary. And the last one is the stage is actually called the declining stage. Here the population is declining. So that is the declining stage. Okay, so this way what happened, the population structure in a country keeps on changing, right? The best, we can say, what is the best for a country? As a geographer, out of all the stages, now you can also identify that which stage is the best stage to live. For me, fourth stage is the best stage to live, right? But then after fourth there will be 5. So fifth stage is dangerous. Third stage is also dangerous, because you will see third stage, if any country is in third stage, the total population will be growing at a rapid rate, and that is not good for the country, because then they will have shortage of lot many things. Fourth stage is okay, because total population is stable, birth rate and death rate both are at low stage. So the country need to maintain that stage, but they won't be able to maintain, because as people become more and more modern, people become more and more aware, they will not prefer to have more number of children. Even you will find people who don't want to get married, and if they are marrying, they don't want children, right? So this is stage 4. So in stage 4 is best for me, but stage 5 is again dangerous. Okay, now I'm putting over here some data. Let us identify, will we be able to put a country looking at their data. So I'm just writing over here, I have gathered some data. So I'm writing the name of the country, like Afghanistan is over here. Okay, then Bolivia. Let us see, Bolivia, then USA, then China, then Japan, then India, then I'm putting over here, let me have a line, and then I'm putting here Canada, then Germany, then Russia, then Turkey, then South Africa, and New Zealand. So I have gathered some data about the birth rate and death rate. I am writing here birth rate and death rate, birth rate and death rate. Okay, now let us see what is there. So Afghanistan birth rate is 30.5, whereas the death rate is 6.0. Similarly, Bolivia's birth rate is 20.9 and their death rate is 6.6. Then USA's birth rate is 12 and the death rate is 7.7. Then China's birth rate is 7.5 and death rate is 7.1. Then Japan's birth rate is 7.1 and the death rate is 11.3. And India's birth rate is 17.2 and the death rate is 7.3. Canada's birth rate is 10.2 and death rate is 8.1. Germany's birth rate is 9.3 and the death rate is 11.5. Russia's birth rate is 11.6 and the death rate is 12.9. Turkey's birth rate is 15.1 and the death rate is 5.5. South Africa's birth rate is 19.3 and the death rate is 9.4. And New Zealand's birth rate is 12.2 and the death rate is 7.1. Now see, this is very interesting data. This is very interesting. If you see over here, so this is very interesting. Why it is interesting? Because 1 minute. Why it is interesting? I found this very interesting. Now, with the help of this data, we can put the country that where in present time in 2023, where this country, however, this data belongs to 2022. Okay, there might be minute, you may find some changes over there, but that is, can be in point. Right? In decimal, there might be some changes. Otherwise, it will not change so rapidly. So, let us see Afghanistan. So, Afghanistan birth rate is 30.5. And death rate is 6.0. First of all, 30.5 is very high birth rate, right? So high birth rate over here. But death rate is 6.0. Now 6.0 is low. Okay, is not exactly low, but is falling. So Afghanistan, if you see Afghanistan, birth rate is very high, 30.5. And death rate is 6.6, means death rate is falling in Afghanistan. So Afghanistan will be in stage 2. Right? Can we put Afghanistan in stage 2? You see here, birth rate is 30.5, death rate is 6.0. So death rate is falling rapidly, birth rate is still high. Afghanistan is in second stage, means it is an LADC. Bolivia birth rate is 20.9. Again, 20.9 is also very high birth rate. So it will be somewhere here. Okay, Afghanistan is you can put Afghanistan somewhere, that Afghanistan has reached somewhere over here, whereas Bolivia, because 20.9 is somewhere here, right, is close to stage 3, will be in stage 3. But the death rate is 6.6, means birth rate and death rate, there is a huge gap, and that gap, you can see that gap is over here. So Bolivia again will be in stage 2. Okay, let me put over here like this is Afghanistan, this is Bolivia. Okay, now let us see third stage, USA. So USA's birth rate is 12, death rate is 7.7. So very interesting. 12 means birth rate is falling over there and death rate is 7.7. So death rate is also low. Means that USA is somewhere here in these. Okay, stage 3, stage 4. Total population of USA is not too high, but then USA is very difficult to mention over here. It might be placed somewhere here. It is in the transition stage, might have entered in stage 4, right? Might have entered, just entered in stage 4, because the gap between birth and death rate is very low. So it has entered in stage 4. So you will find that USA is in stage 4. Right. China 7.5, 7.1. Now, very interesting. 7.5, 7.1. It means that China has reached somewhere here. Right. Birth rate 7.5, 7.1. See, the gap is very low. So China is in stage 4, but is about to enter in stage 5. So it is in stage 4. Now, see, the gap between USA is here, has just entered in stage 4, whereas China is already, is about to enter into stage 5. So USA over here, China is over here. Both are in stage 4, but China is about to move into stage 5. Japan 7.1, 11.3. Clear, very clear. Birth rate is lower than death rate. Death rate is 11.3. Birth rate is 7.1. It means that Japan has entered this stage. Japan is here, somewhere here. Japan is in stage 5. Can you see Japan is in stage 5? India 17.2, 7.3. Yeah, it is in stage 3. The gap is reducing. So India is somewhere, you will find that India is in the middle. Somewhere here India is, there is a gap. But it is close to that. India is over there because the gap is over there. So you can see that India is in 3rd stage of demographic transition model. Same way Canada. If you see Canada, where can we put Canada? 10.2, 8.1. The gap is minute, right? The gap is minute. It means that it will be very close to, is following China. So Canada somewhere here. Canada. Okay, so it is also in stage 4, but will also following China, is behind China, because their gap is also low. Germany 9.3 is birth rate, 11.5 is death rate, means they have already entered here, right? So Germany already in stage 5. Russia 11.6, 12.9 means just here you will find Russia. Russia also is in stage 5. Turkey 15.1, 5.5 means similar to India, somewhere here with India only. Turkey is also standing. So Turkey is still in stage 3. Right, last 2 stages, let us see. South Africa 19.3, 9.4 means South Africa is also somewhere here. South Africa in stage 3. And New Zealand 12.2, 7.1 means is following USA. New Zealand somewhere in stage 3 will enter into stage 4 in shorter time. So it is in the almost following USA. So this way, see, this is interesting, right? Said with the help of this, and what will be, which countries need to think. Now those countries which are in stage 3, they will be in stage 4, but they have time. But those countries which are in stage 4, like the first of all, just identify the countries which are in danger. So Japan is in danger because it is already in stage 5. Germany is in danger because it is also in stage 5. Russia is in stage 5. Right? So you can see here that Germany, Russia and Japan are in stage 5, and those which are in stage 4, USA is still safe because there is gap 12 and 7.7, but China 7.5 and 7.1. So China need to think, and that's why they have revised their one child policy. Canada also need to think because it is also close 10.2 to 8.1 and is also in stage 4. So this way, this is how demographic transition model can be studied, right? So this way, I have lot many data, but I can't present all the data over here. But this way we can identify, by looking at birth rate and death rate, we can identify that in which demographic transition the country would be, and depending on that we can easily analyze that, the policymakers, they also go, I think, this way, that they need to think about all these parameters, right? So this is all about the demographic transition model. This is part of population pyramid only, but very interesting. And this portion, I like this portion. This is how it need to be analyzed, right? So if you like this video, please like it, like my videos, like my channel, like my videos, share it, subscribe it. It is E-GeO. I don't have that digital board. Otherwise, this would have been represented differently, more interestingly. But I'm trying my best to give you the best. That's it. Okay, so that's it from the today's session. I hope you will like, share, and subscribe my YouTube channel. Thank you. Have a nice day.